I feel like my phrasing of that was kind of rude, but that's my opinion.
You know what? I'm just going to say this right now. I didn't like this movie.
Oh, yes! Yes! Strider and I watched it, and we finished it and went, what? Hey there, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, Itisdpayne.
I'm a bird.
Well, what kind of bird?
A raccoon.
You shouldn't be here.
I couldn't think of a bird. What is your favorite bird?
I don't know if I have a favorite bird. I appreciate birds from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I say that, but as a kid, I did grow up and have parakeets that I thought were very sweet and very nice. But my family didn't believe in clipping their wings, which is fine, depending on personal beliefs. And we had an indoor patio. But my dad... No, they never flew out of the patio. The problem was my dad believed that they needed fresh air. So he would just take their cage and leave it out. And we had one of those cages that, opened from the bottom. So they were allowed to do whatever they wanted in the indoor patio. But, yeah, he would take them out. But they would be unattended. So their wings weren't clipped. And we came back, and the bottom of the cage was open. And... Yeah, so we don't know if they got eaten or if they just flew away. Yeah, because I don't know if we had outdoor cats in that neighborhood, but my birds, I would watch them some mornings, and they would stick their heads in their seed and fling them out for other birds. So, yeah. And then my parents were like, here, we're going to get you birds to replace those birds, but they didn't give me that window of time to, grieve my previous birds, so I could not get emotionally attached to the second birds. I think I even named the second set similar names to the first set, and it just
Bird 2, the sequel.
Yeah. At the time I was young enough that I was watching the Rugrats, so I think my first pair of birds was Angelica and Susie, and they were like, what are you gonna name the new ones? I was like, I don't know, Angel and
Dust.
Yeah. You saying I named my birds after cocaine?
Who? Oh, I'm just giving names. Yeah. For me, I always like owls. I think they're really cool.
Owls are very funny. Have you seen the proof that owls are mostly legs?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're also cats with wings.
Yeah, I was at... there's I don't know if you've heard of this zoo, but there is a free zoo in New Jersey towards the shore, Cape May Zoo. I was there Memorial Day weekend, and the owls were actually out and about. And by out and about, I mean they were sitting on their stoops in the corners rather than being inside of their little hidey holes.
It's very relatable.
Yeah, but
I gotta pay out for what?
But I was just looking at them, and just them with their heads slowly turning, kind of like a security camera at all the people, and I'm just like, man, to be a bird sitting in the corner in the shade, not having to hunt anymore or do anything else.
Yeah. But besides that, besides owls, I think those are my favorite ones. I know they're my favorite kind of bird. I love watching little owl videos and all that stuff. I don't know. I don't want to own one though.
You shouldn't. They're not domesticated.
I've seen a lot of video. I think over in China or Japan, I've seen videos where it's the little tiny, I think, barn owls. There's one that has this whole Instagram account, and it's they put little outfits on it, and I'm like, that's cute. And then it stopped showing up on my timeline. But then there's another one. I'm pretty sure these people are Japanese, and it's just the owl from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time that's yelling at Link all the time. It's an owl that looks like that and is huge, and it's just this couple sitting there and it's recording as the owl's just perched on one of the humans as they're sleeping, just are you gonna wake up? I'm like, yeah. It's just sitting there. It's very gentle, but I'm looking at its claws and I'm or talons, whatever. It's I'm good. But
yeah, I mean I love having pets. I'm very against having wild animals as pets because they don't thrive in it and everything unless they're injured already. But again, I don't think they should be in your house. But that's me. I know I used to watch videos. I think it was a Japanese family that had a pair of otters, and they would share each video that they were licensed, and the otters were not suited to live in the wild. But like looking at how destructive they were, I'm like, that's okay. I can watch a video of somebody else having to professionally care for otters. I'm not going to be the guy. The thing I always remembered about owls, because I used to, growing up, owls was one of the birds I was a big fan of. There was I want to say it was like a marshland / wildlife rescue that we would take field trips to, and they had a competition for painting birds, and I think I won for painting an owl. I don't think I have that anymore. But the fact I always remember is that owls, you can tell what they've eaten because they're carnivores, and all the little bones end up in their poop. So the idea, like, I know people will have, like, pet snakes, but the idea of something, like, pooping, and I have to, like, pick it up and see bones of what it had to eat, because a lot of owls eat, like, mice. I would not be able to handle it.
Yeah. I think the only other bird I really like seeing, like when I do my walks, I love seeing a blue jay and a cardinal. I think seeing cardinals are really cool.
Yeah. Again, so me being the animal fact person, I forget which one of those is a total butthead in terms.
Oh, I totally believe it.
One of them. So growing up, I had like. I wasn't, like, in a forested area, but there were a lot of, like, natural, like, trees still in the area. And I remember in the spring, I would always find no longer with us baby birds, and I didn't understand why. And then I had a teacher say, oh, I forget, it's either a blue jay or cardinal, doesn't build nests. They steal nests by going to other birds and getting rid of their babies, and then using their nest as theirs. So I would look out and be like, oh, look at that pretty bird. And someone was like, did you know? I was like, wow, pretty bird mean.
I'm looking it up. Well, I found one of them builds the nests.
Okay.
Let me see. There we go. That's a mascot. The other one.
Yeah, I'll look up birds that steal other birds' nests.
The blue jay, they said, made, whatever it's called, made nests. Let's see, northern cardinal. There we go.
Maybe there was secretly another bird, like where I was growing up, that.
Let's see. Birds that steal nests in North America. Because there's the cuckoo, which that's just like deadbeat dad. Except instead of getting the milk, it just drops the kids off and never leave and just leaves. They're all cuckoos.
Oh,
They're all just different versions of cuckoos that just apparently steal nests.
I don't know why this whole time I thought it was either the blue jay or cardinal. Maybe it's because the bird those are the two I always saw.
Let's see. There's the shiny cowbird that prefers to host on a nest built in tree cavities.
Oh, I found a link.
Oh.
I don't know why this is so hard to find, but. Oh no, this steals shiny. So blue jays steal shiny things.
So they're like Raven's blue cousin.
I know magpies are pretty ruthless, but I don't think they're in North America.
Oh, there's the owl. Black kites. I don't know. Hey, if you guys know, leave a comment.
Yeah, I could be just a total liar. And maybe I did have a wild cat, but I feel like if I had a cat in my neighborhood, they wouldn't just leave the baby birds around. I feel like they would just, I don't know. Some cats just do like to play with things and walk away.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe that person that told you that fact was just a liar.
Oh, I see another one. It says the most common non-native nest usurpers in North America are house sparrows and European starlings. Could be one of those.
The Europeans.
Doing what they do best.
We had the same joke, but I couldn't word it right.
It probably is sparrows because I see these all the time. You'll recognize them as soon as I put the picture up.
Those, they're like, oh, we're all little puffballs with wings, and then it's just like, but I won't steal your house.
I didn't realize they were non-native.
I don't know. But one thing that we can say real quick, we haven't been able to do this for a little while, but we were pleasantly surprised that someone did take up the mantle and left some comments, and we would always give a little shout out thank you. Oh, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm just going to say the first one. Addie. Thank you for the comments. It brought us serotonin. Is that the right word?
Sure. I think so. I think serotonin's the happy one and dopamine is the like excitement one. I forget which one's which. But in any case, yeah, we replied. We appreciate the discussion. We'll definitely look into some future episode ideas based on what you shared with us. So any other listeners that you'd be interested in hearing us talk about additional stuff, just let us know what's out there. Because when we build these lists, we don't do the deepest research. We just go, oh, this is popular for director. Clink.
Oh, I want to let you know because for September that I know what this director is known for, and there was lots of research done into that where I'm like, there's a movie I want to put. Ooh,
I mean, no. If I have warning ahead of time, unless it's something that's like grossly like bad in retrospect.
It's bad in any spect.
Because, like, I have seen Eraserhead. Spoilers for September.
Yes, I haven't, but I was like, I looked through there and I'm like, well, this is their first one. But, yeah, it's interesting. I can go through it later when we get into it for what I did there. But, like, the last three are actually all connected. But there was one that it's like considered their best film, but they're like, no, there's like on-screen assault of all things, and I'm like, I'm good, and
we don't have to make ourselves watch that. Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah, like watching what's it? Clockwork Orange was a lot.
Yeah, it sounded like that. Close to that vein.
Okay.
From there, I'm just like, I'm good.
That's okay. That's future us planning.
Yes.
We are still working through Wes Anderson.
Speaking about birds and outdoors, let's go to a kingdom in Moonrise.
Smooth.
That's what my original thing when we were talking about first, like, oh man, this is perfect. I'm like, oh, wait, we gotta mention the comment person.
Yeah, that's okay. We think we're not rusty at intros, but we're always gonna be rusty at intros.
Yeah, especially at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we've recorded a lot in recent days just to like make sure we are prepared for the storm ahead. There you go. Yeah. There's another segue into the movie.
We got it. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. When does this episode come out? The 21st. Yeah. So like the Saturday that after this episode releases, one of the reasons why we're trying to cram so much in there is when I do my yearly charity event. It's on the 26th.
Oh, we didn't think to plug it in the last few episodes because we've just been...
we've just been chugging along. But yeah, in short, every year I do a charity event on my Twitch channel. I think it's in the description. It should be. Where we just play... we stream all day long. We do some cooking. We do some TTRPGs. And we raise money for a cancer-related charity. Very brief because we're kind of a little short on time today. Yeah, my mom 8 years ago passed away from cancer, so to honor her life we raise money to help others that are going through the same thing, to honor her life and help others. So if you want to come along, cause some chaos and help donate for future for the charity that will unlock future things, content stuff. Come along.
Is there a podcast episode this year in the rewards, or you're still working through?
We haven't talked about it, but I'm not against it if we want to do something.
Yeah, last year we had one, right? What did we do last year?
It was the book tier. It was something book related.
I thought so. But that's just to entice the podcasters if they'd like to see an extra episode. Be sure to attend to
We can talk. We can figure it out. I don't know. We can talk, and then maybe next episode, like, even though the charity event will already happen, we can announce it, or just be like, "Hey, here's the bonus."
We could throw it in the description, maybe.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's doing that. I guess another good example is when we raise $500, I'm going to be doing a tier list.
You love tier lists. We used to do a lot of them.
We used to do a lot of tier lists. That was like the whole podcast. But I am going to go be buying healthy ice creams and rating them on how delicious they are.
Okay. You did do the spam one already.
Yeah. Well, this one's not going to be like 3 to 4 months of my life. Oh man. I still have people that are like, "Hey, this new spam flavor came out," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, the doctor said you're not great."
Sodium? Maybe let's chill out.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're here to talk about Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson. We are going to roll some dice, and if this is your first episode in a long time, and you don't know what we're saying, I'm talking like we're in Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's a D20. Where's my D12? There it is. We roll a 12-sided die because there's 12 directors, and we like rolling dice because we're big nerds.
There's 12 directors because that's what we're doing this year for our series.
Yes, one per month.
Yes.
And so I think it was later. I think it was like a couple months in. It was like, oh, it would have been funny to whoever rolled closest to whatever director number of the month it was is the one who had to give the... give the talk.
But we just are doing highest numbers, usual kind of like tabletop rules. Higher number is better. So I rolled my 12-sided dice.
I did.
What did you get? I figure it's either a 1 or a 12 based on your facial expressions.
Well, you are correct. It's one of those.
I got...
Well, how about you tell me what you rolled?
I got a 10.
Well... one of those numbers is in my number.
That is true for both things that I thought could be possible based on your facial expression.
Why don't you give the description? Because I rolled a nat 1 as I go find the questions.
Yes. So I rolled highest, so I'll give basically a 2-sentence description of the summary of this movie. No spoilers. We'll go to spoiler town in a few, but you'll be warned in case you want to watch Moonrise Kingdom before we get into full discussion. And then Dpayne will ask me a handful of questions and to help you get a vibe for the movie. So, Moonrise Kingdom, we follow 2 12-year-olds as they go, I don't like my situation, and try to run away together and live on their own on a tiny island.
As the law chases them down.
I guess we have already talked about this, where we talked about the movie The Hunt for the Wilder People.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend Hunt for the Wilder People before I recommend Moonrise Kingdom, but they're both very similar in, like, I think, concept, but...
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Moonrise Kingdom is focused on coming of age, they're both coming of age stories. This one's supposed to be a romantic story, and I feel like my phrasing of that was kind of rude, but that's my opinion.
You know what? I'm just going to say this right now. I didn't like this movie.
Oh, yes! Yes! Strider and I watched it, and we finished it and went, what?
I'm like, why?
Why is it
We'll get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, Strider and I finished the movie and looked up, like, what were we supposed to get from it? Because we were both like, did we miss something? Because Strider, after the halfway mark, goes, I thought this was supposed to be rated well. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I picked the highest rated Wes Anderson movies for this list. Because, like, I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is, like, if not the highest critically rated, like, up there. And then Royal Tenenbaums, I feel like people say, is a required movie for Wes Anderson. And the Moonrise Kingdom, I remember being rated well. So we were, like, reading forums of different opinions and not agreeing with, like, the forums. So I feel so glad that we have the same movie taste. But we can discuss it in Spoiler Town. So sorry if you're a fan of this movie. Also sorry if you're...
No, I'm not. I'm not sorry.
You as a child psychologist probably was like, these poor actors, why are they doing this to them? It's so uncomfortable. Because this is written by two grown men. Sorry, I gotta stop. It's that.
No, you don't have to.
We're not in Spoiler Town yet.
I don't care. Spoiler Town is breaking out.
The train is running off the tracks.
It's off the rails. It's going off the rails on a spoiler train. Anyway.
How do you feel after watching this, knowing that you know someone close to you, this is their favorite director?
I'm related to that person.
I said close to you to be polite.
I don't care. I'm going to call him. I'm seeing him today.
You're going to be like, why do you like this guy? Anyway, okay. Taking a step back. The reason we get to be mad about it is they also helped write the movie. They were one of the two writers on the movie. So this is very much their vision. In any case. So do you have questions for me?
I have lots of questions about the movie.
I can't answer this.
If this was your only movie you watched by this director, would you watch the rest of their catalog?
No.
Yeah, same here. I feel. How much did you root for the characters?
No.
Did you root for any characters?
The narrator.
The narrator? Yeah.
They were fun.
I forget his name. Yeah, Edward Norton's character.
He's very fun. Mr. Board.
I forgot his name, but I liked. I just wish the movie was him.
A lot of the time, Strider and I found it more fun to figure out who was sleeping with who rather than actually paying attention to the plot. Because, like, in the one scene where the phone operator is like, "Are you okay?" Strider's like, "Oh, they're dating."
Yeah.
And then, like, in the very beginning, when the mother, like, shakes hand or, like, shares the cigarette with someone, and we were like, "Oh, they're cheating on each other." Like, But in any case, I wouldn't consider those spoilers because I guess they're part of the plot.
They're like shown in like the first 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was the next one?
Plot.
What would you grade the plot?
A generous D. It followed story structure.
Mm-hmm.
But so when I say we ended up down a research rabbit hole, we've realized not a single Wes Anderson movie, as far as that we're aware of, has passed the Bechdel test. And they tried to say this one does, but I still feel like one of the major scenes is still a male-centered conversation.
Can you... I remember hearing that term, but I'm drawing a blank.
I forget the origins of the name, but that's the test to see if the movie has strong female characters. Two rules, maybe 3 rules, but 2 of the rules are: 1, there has to be 2 named female characters, which this barely passes, right? You have the mother and the daughter. 2, they need to have a conversation in a scene where it's only the 2 of them, where they're not talking about men.
Mm-hmm.
And people, there's a website, kind of like Does the Dog Die?, where they said, like, whether or not they believe it passes the test. And people say this does because the 2 women, the mother and daughter, talk about emotions in the bathtub. But those emotions, I believe, are males. Men. Yes. And also belittling...
a man and a boy.
And also belittling women, in that the mother goes, "You know how we are, women, we're emotional." And I was like, I'm so mad. In any case.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's why I'm like, it technically follows a story structure. It technically has a beginning, middle, end in a way that's, like, technically satisfying for a viewer, right? So I can't give it an F. We've watched much worse movies, plot-wise. But the mixed...
Twizzler suits.
Yeah, but, like, the messaging and, like... I also don't see who this was written for. Because, like, Strider and I were talking about, like, watching other coming-of-age movies have a lot of heart to them, but I'm not convinced. I don't. We'll get into, like, some of the discussions on, like, the writers.
Spoiler Town might go long today.
I'm hoping not. I have plans. Well, I have.
No,
I have.
No, I'm just. Yeah. Well. Okay. Yeah. Normally, like, we banter for a little bit longer. I feel like.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. But in any case, like, there's a lot of interesting things. I think the other letdown is it's like the movie kept volleying up interesting concepts to discuss societally and, like, as far as, like, the human condition, and then they don't spike it. Instead, they kind of just keep volleying it and going, see, we made a good point. I'm like, no, the ball never hit the ground. The ball never scored a point. You just keep tossing up things in the air and just leaving it hanging. But in any case, What about you?
I thought everything was interesting when the two main kids weren't on the screen. I liked all the adult side of the story. So, like, not all, but it's like I found that slightly more interesting.
It was at least messy in a fun way.
Like, I have issues, which, if it's not clear with this movie, let me clarify that. I have issues with this movie. I'm pretty sure other people would say I have issues, but there's, but yeah, there's parts in this movie, like, I think it would have been more interesting just to, like, stick with the troupe and, like, but then it wouldn't be what they wanted this to be.
I was so hoping it would just turn into Lord of the Flies. Like, it would have been a much more fascinating inspection of people. But anyway,
yeah.
What's your overall grade?
Plot, I don't know. It would probably be, like, if I'm being generous, a C-, but I would probably give it, like, a D as well, because I'm just like, because there's, as I said, like, there's parts of the movie that I do think are good, decent.
It felt like someone was like had the gun to your head. It was like, go ahead, say you like it, say you didn't hate it.
Yeah, 'cause it's like pretty much when I forget the name of the kid, Sam, when he's interacting with Edward Norton's character, I thought was good, and even Bruce Willis's character. Like, I thought, like, even though I don't agree with everything like that was going on there, I'm like, I think this is interesting if they kept going down this route. But it was more like, here's a little bit of stuff. I guess it was more of just like, I guess because we watch so many movies where it's like, compared to Royal Tenenbaums, where the adults, like, they're all adults, and, like, the people who are the parents don't care about the kids. Mm-hmm. And then we have two men here that, from looking at there, are very concerned about Sam's situation, especially when they learn what's going to be happening, and so where, like, it's not like there's much happening on that island, so it's like they kind of can get away with, like, we got to drop everything and go take care of this. But it's like, it doesn't feel like, oh, we're gonna get a bad report or we can't look bad on this. It's like, no, we gotta, like, go find and help this kid, because they not like his, like, there's just stuff going on that wouldn't be helpful. Like, it felt like they were caring more for the kid than just like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna lose my job, or this is gonna give me money or win back this person. It felt like at least those two characters looking for Sam were legitimately trying to find it and help him out. So, but that's not the point of the movie. That just seems like those side stories, I think, are much more interesting. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't be a Wes Anderson movie. I'm thinking beside, like, and no, we have one more Wes Anderson. I don't think I'm a Wes Anderson fan.
That's fair.
Well,
before we get into that and lose ourselves,
but anyway,
we have one last question.
We have one. Would you recommend this movie to others? And I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious.
I already gave what I would recommend over this. Like, if you like the idea of people, of like, so in a way, there's a way to discuss the struggle of growing up, and in ways of dealing with wilderness can be a physical manifestation of you going through obstacles and being forced to grow up in like within the confinement of a movie, right? Like having to be forced outdoors and use survival skills is kind of a nice allegory for what you have to do as you get older and navigate obstacles in your real life, right? And I don't dislike that, but I don't know if it's a disservice that we saw Hunt for the Wilder People first.
No, it is a perfect service.
But, like, if you wanted to watch that, I think Hunt for the Wilder People is a really great way to look at a coming-of-age story where you're stuck in the wilderness in a way that actually feels like growth for the characters. Because he, like, Hunt for the Wilder People does a fantastic job of taking unlikable characters in the beginning, and by the end I was like, please I hope everything works out for them. And it's also
don't worry, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, it also follows a kid in the system, but it feels like the kid is actually part of the system, which is another fault I have with the way that this movie feels like it's written, where you tell us that the main boy is a troubled youth, but I don't see it. I'm not convinced that he has any problems. Like, he has life struggles, that's for sure, based on his background. But the way he talks, the way he is around other people, his level of remorse, his lack of action. They say he's a troublemaker. There's no signs of it on screen, and his background. Yeah. The best they can say is, I don't know, maybe he did that. And I'm like...
I think that what they is like, just want to let you know, I set the doghouse on fire while sleepwalking, and it's like, okay.
You also live in a house with 30 boys. It could have been any of the 30 boys that are also troubled youth, air quotes. Whereas, like, Hunt for the Wilder People, the kid isn't troubled, but he's in a bad situation, so he makes terrible mistakes. And you get to see it happen on screen. Like, the Hunt for the Wilder People, he's like, I died in a fire, don't look for me. And he's like, oh, the whole shed's on fire. Yes. Like... It's like
this, pretty much this movie when I was watching it, like within the first like I think 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm like, I just want to watch Wilder People.
Yeah. And like I think the main difference for me is it feels like Hunt for the Wilder People is a story written towards that kind of youth that's like that's a little bit lost and confused, and to give them a chance to say, like, if you can find at least one person who's in your corner, you can make it through. Whereas Moonrise Kingdom, I have no clue who this movie's written for. I don't know who the audience is supposed to be. Is it for...
perverts.
All right. You ready to go to Spoiler Town? Is that your cold open?
I do have something that... I needed to wait for Spoiler Town to give my comparison of Moonrise to Wilder People.
Yeah.
So
it's specific. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, hey, if this is your favorite movie, I'm not sorry.
We're not your podcast.
Yeah.
We think too deep. Pretty picture, not enough.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. The train is like, yes, come on, we got to go crash into this one. So, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1, spoilers away. Woo.
This is the fastest you've gone into Spoiler Town. You have so many opinions. I can tell.
I do. Okay, because like as you were saying, I agree with a lot, like pretty much everything you were saying about I forgot the name, Hunt for the Wilder People. But here's my thing with Taika writing Hunt for the Wilder People. And
oh yeah, that's also based off a book, so like
yeah.
And
someone just woke up. Let me mute my phone. And so compared to that, and then Moonrise Kingdom, as we mentioned back when we were watching Taika's movies, is remember mentioning, it's like he's really good at directing kids, where the kids feel like kids, and just it seems like real reactions and show, like just everything through there. While watching Moonrise Kingdom, I don't believe any of those kids are kids. they all feel like adults. Like the way they talk, the way they act. Not saying that every kid's gonna act the same or stuff, like kids are different, but it felt like every kid in that movie didn't act like a real human.
Mm-hmm.
And like the adults had, and the argument would be like, oh well, they have much more experience acting and their range, and it's like, yeah,
but the writing,
but
yeah.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this script isn't interesting.
Well, you're not so the funny thing about it not being interesting is Strider looked it up and people were saying that the movie resonates if you pretend you're 12 years old and you're interested in love. And Strider said he tried doing that and he was like, when I was 12, I didn't look at relationships that way. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think I did either. Like, did I have a crush maybe? Like, sure, but I never like I don't know, like I don't know, but like what ended up like I forget where he found it, but one of the sources says that the two writers wrote it in the idea of fantasizing about themselves at being 12. And on Wikipedia, it does say that Wes Anderson has conveyed being interested in depicting a romance between children, and that it started out as a story, as a memory of fantasized young love, where he's quoted of saying, I remember this feeling from when I was that age and from when I was in 5th grade, but nothing really happened. I just experienced the period of dreaming about what might happen when I was at that age. I feel like the movie could really be something that was envisioned by one of these characters. And I'm like, so you wrote a movie about a memory of a feeling, about a fantasy of a 12-year-old? Like, it's like so many like leaps and bounds, and maybe that's why it also just feels disjointed and uninteresting, because if it's written in the perspective of if a 12-year-old wrote a movie about love, I'm like, I feel like I've met more interesting 12-year-olds.
Yeah, it's it honestly feels like a story that has been told before and better. If it's pretty much like, it might be a little bit of a stretch, but it's just like Romeo and Juliet. The two people can't be together because of tensions between the families, and
There's not even like,
then they sneak away. But there's no tension between the families until, hey, our daughter that we're having problems with is now gone, and we only realized because our one kid said that she took my record player
for 10 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, and the thing about the way that the kids act when it comes to them, like I said, like I had trouble buying that Sam was quote unquote a troubled youth. He's a kid stuck in the system and nobody wants to listen to him, which it's one of those things, like I said, it feels like this movie volleys up a lot of interesting societal problems of like the 60s, right? Because there was the big problem of people just accepting foster kids because you would get paid from the government a decent check, and a lot of times those kids ended up not being treated well enough because people were in it for like additional checks rather than like having a loving home. And they kind of depict having that massive like foster care house, right? And that the parents or the guardians at the time didn't even care to put in the system that he is part of the system. To which like Bruce Willis and Edward Norton are like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Because of the completely disjointed conversation they have. But then like Sam is so good at being a scout and everything. He seems respected by the adults and everything, and they don't show any moments because the kids go, oh, you can't trust him. But the kids never have a moment. Like, there's no flashback of Sam doing anything to the other kids. So I'm like, was it a popularity contest? Because it doesn't seem like Sam actually did anything violent. They keep saying he has violent tendencies, and there's never been a moment that he seemed violent. And then the moments that they try to show Susie off as being a troubled youth seem like her becoming a teenager. What, she argues with her parents sometimes. She gets bullied in school and fights the girl who bullies her at school. Sometimes she's sad. Like, I don't know, like, it just didn't feel genuine. And again, it again volleys up the idea of like, oh, when you're going through hormone changes, it's hard to regulate your emotions. And then it's even harder to regulate your emotions if you have emotionally distant parents who don't even talk to each other. So who are you supposed to confide in? But again, we don't talk about that. All we get is the mom just going, I'll stop cheating. And I'm like, what? And that makes you a happy family? Mm-hmm. That's all that's come out of, that's your consequence to being caught cheating? Like,
yeah.
Like,
it's, I don't know. I don't know if Bill Murray's in the next movie that we're watching next week.
He has been in all of them so far, yeah.
Was he in Fantastic Mr. Fox?
He's the Badger.
Oh.
Don't buy that tree.
Yeah, so I guess it's a little bit different because in that one, because it's like, at least the live action ones, we'll say that, is like, he's in both of them, he's like in a marriage that like
is barely there.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like the other thing is like, I don't know if they're going with the 12-year-old point of view, and I guess like that could be how people explain away like the disconnected source of information, where it's just like, it feels as if we learn things about people as we go through, and like it's mentioned quickly, like, oh yeah, they're lawyers and all that stuff. You know what? I think, yeah, and it's so like, and it all like, because I remember sitting there, I was like, how's this all gonna come together? And then it's like at the very end when they're just like
neatly packed away. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this. And then, like, I don't know, the ending where it's like the church gets struck by lightning and all that stuff, and they're like hanging from there, like, don't let go. And I'm like, I wish you did. But I'm like, I feel like watching this movie, all these people didn't feel like real people.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of them felt like paper dolls. Like, they could have just showed up on screen and you put a text bubble, and it was like, that's pretty much like the extent of their character. It doesn't go much beyond that surface level of like, I am Island Police. It's like, okay, what do you do? I be sad. And they go, okay, what are you sad about? Being sad. And you're like, okay. But speaking of like the 12-year-old perspective, and like you said, like the Bill Murray, it does say that Anderson grew up in Texas with two brothers. And when he was 12, his parents were separating, and influences his later depictions of crumbling marriages. So I guess like at the age of 12, his parents are going through a divorce, so I guess he has to make every divorce bad in every movie or every marriage. Yeah. And like, I think I got annoyed with the fact that Susie is almost a direct copy of the blonde girl in Royal Tenenbaums. Like, he even has her made up in, like, the same makeup and everything. They give her the same, like...
Apparently, there's a trivia thing that I saw where she did her own makeup.
But, I mean, like, the influence of it just feels almost like...
Oh, yeah. I agree.
It's the same character, except even though Susie gets, in my opinion, kind of, like, more lines in the movie and kind of more screen time, she still feels kind of like... I like books, and I'm a silly girl who only packs frivolous things when I know I'm running away into the woods. Like, she doesn't have, like... There could be so much more to her. Like, I kept thinking there was going to be more.
She's strong. Like, she carried that suitcase around with books with no, like...
She's stabby?
Yeah.
But again, everyone goes, oh, your daughter has violent tendencies. And it's not till the very end that the mom's like, no, she was provoked and got attacked. I'm like, where was this when you were calling her a troubled youth, like, a little bit ago? Like, kids don't just wake up and go, I'm going to, like, be a problem for my parents. Like, there's usually, like, and I'm sure you know, there's a lot of influences and factors that lead to, quote unquote, as they were saying in the 60s, troubled children.
Yeah. I know something else I didn't like about this movie, which I know I understand why they were doing it, but I just didn't enjoy the narrator. Like, because I don't know. I liked
him as a storytelling device. Like, I thought that was at the most unique part of the movie. So
Yeah.
like I didn't love that he became part of the story, so to speak.
For like one line.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
did like it. Just if that part felt a little bit like had I don't know how to get to point A and B, so let's just force in a character to force them to find the kids. I liked it in the beginning because I thought it was a fun story element to say like, oh, we're reflecting on a story, right? Because he talks about
Yeah.
like the storm will happen in 3 days, and then I
Mm-hmm.
like the part where he almost is kind of like an exterior voice when the kids show up in the other fort. And like I thought that was like cuz like I could tell that Anderson likes to do quirky storytelling because World Tenenbaums is like a chapter book, right?
Yeah.
Cuz they have each part of the movie
Well, so is
separated.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. It has chapter titles pretty much.
That one I thought it was just cuz it's a book. I didn't think
Yeah.
that was necessarily like
But it's yeah.
it is a
But
choice
it.
that he didn't have to make, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's why I like the narrator. And I think the only times that I really chuckled in the movie was when the narrator was like saying something that felt like out of left field. But
Yeah.
I don't know in hindsight, I remember laughing at things, but I don't know if I actually thought anything was funny or it was one of those like if almost like the movie wanted to have dark humor, but like it couldn't deliver like the lobster.
Yeah. I. This is why I'm thinking Wes Anderson is not the way he tells stories aren't for me, because it feels like all his movies so far don't have any real element of mystery. Like not like there's stuff like with Royal Tenenbaums I thought was fun. Like there's moments I thought were fun. Fantastic Mr. Fox, like I there's parts of that I thought were fun. Not a lot with this one. I blanked on the name. Moonrise Kingdom. But I'm noticing where it's just like everything kind of feel like an adult version of middle grade books, and middle grade for is middle school age books, where it's like
Before young adult, after
yes,
yeah, picture books.
and for someone who like I looked a little bit into that. Middle grade is it has very clear sets of rules where it's supposed to be talking about expanding your worldview. You're not supposed to get into too much touchy subjects, but it's like the beginning and the end, and like the consequences aren't very big. But it's about exploring, self-assurance, and like saying, hey, the world is an amazing and cool place to look into. And I feel like Wes Anderson stuff is almost follows that, where it's like, hey, the world's just this cool, quirky place to look into. The people might not always be there and everything and all that, but it's like, I don't know. It's there. It doesn't feel like at the end, it's like, hey, we tied everything up into a little bow, nice and neat at the end. And I'm like, I don't like that. I I I want the mess, or at least a little bit of mess, because like I don't want to keep comparing Moonrise Kingdom to Hunt for the Wilder People, but it's like at the end of the for Hunter for the Wilder People, there's still not everything is perfectly there. Like, is it a lot better than where it was at the beginning of the movie? Yes, but and like I'm blanking on their names, but like the kid and the uncle, like are they definitely have a bond and they care for each other, but it's not like
It's not clean.
yeah,
Yeah.
where like at the end of the end of Moonrise Kingdom, it's like okay, Sam found his people, like he's with the depressed cop and they're
He's
all
allowed
like
to sneak into a house.
yeah.
And nobody yells at him, even though the lawyers, who you would think two lawyers would do anything to keep their daughter away from someone that they don't trust. But again,
Yeah, and like they say that like her younger brothers can't keep their mouth shut, and
they don't
it's like
tattletale.
yeah,
Yeah.
they don't tattletale on that, and so but it's just like okay, everything's like a little like picture book perfect ending, and I'm like Why? Like,
Yeah,
we
like
can have some mess.
I excused it for Fantastic Mr. Fox because that is literally...
It is a kid's movie, yes.
Yeah, and that's like the inspiration for it is like a middle grade book. So yeah, I guess I wasn't expecting it for Moonrise Kingdom, especially with how much buildup they have for it, and then the way that they close it all up. It's just so...
They should have died. Okay, I'm gonna say it right there. They should have got struck by lightning and fell off and died. They should have had the ending. Everyone's like, "Yeah, we can do this," and then just leave Bruce Willis, make him more depressed. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I am the one with it. I'm the troubled youth.
Yeah, it's like because like when you look it up on it's one of those things like you look it up on the internet and everyone's like, yay, good movie, and like I'm like, Strider and I are searching through, they're like, what about this makes it a good movie? And also we didn't touch it, but you could have completely cut out like 15 minutes of the movie and I wouldn't think that the male directors were predators, because I understand like having the two young kids exploring each other and trying to understand what does it mean, like married couples do this, we see adults do this, what does this mean for us? They didn't have to be in their underwear. One, I was already like confused because there's a scene where she goes into her tent and they had a flash of her underwear with her in a dress getting into a tent. I was like, that's a weird choice for an actress who may not be older than 14 if she is older than the character she's playing. Two, the whole beach dance scene. And I was like, okay, I mean, they're trying to figure it out. She's essentially like in basically a bathing suit, so I'm going to try and let it pass. But then to write dialogue for young adults to say like talking about French kissing and then talking about what happens to a young boy when he has like his hormones go crazy, and to have her have to say that line, it's so uncomfortable, right? Like they could have cut out that whole section of the movie and the implications...
Just got blinded trying to find some information.
But the implications of all of that scene could have still been there if they cut that part out and just had you said his name, Bill Murray's character lift the tent and them sitting there like that. The same implications would have occurred without them having to force her to say things that I think, me personally, if I was that age as an actress, I would say, yeah, I'll say whatever's in the script. But like looking at it as an adult, I was like, why did they write that?
You know what? If he wanted to tell the story and still have these kids be minors and get a like, and I think have a more believable of a pass, just make them teenagers.
Yeah, take them from 12 to like 15.
Yeah, or even 16, like something around there. And that's like, while watching this movie, it feels like their whole interaction that was one of the things I'm sitting there like, they don't feel like 12-year-olds. And it's just like their whole interaction. Like I think I saw something on a trivia is like that last scene, like the dance scene was the last thing they shot in the movie. And they're like, yeah. And it was like, he wanted to do that so that way these two kids felt okay with each other. I'm trying to find out how old these stinking kids were when they were actually filming.
All right, I'll try and do the math.
Yeah, I don't know how old they were. I was trying to see if I can find something. I just saw someone ask if Moonrise Kingdom is a true story. Okay, that's enough internet.
The boy was born in 1998, and the movie was released in 2012. So yeah, like he was like 12 during production, right? If they film it like 2 years before its release.
How old was...
She was also born in 98, so
okay,
yeah, they were both probably actually 12.
Are they doing okay? Like, are they...
She hasn't... she's been in some small roles. Like, it says that she has some credit for a low-rated movie in 2022.
She's in Manchester by the Sea? I love that movie.
Oh, yeah. That is one that you've been talking about wanting to watch.
Yeah, well, I've watched it, and it's been a while.
The boy has been in some, like, smaller movies as well, and, like, some shorts up to 2024. So it seems like they're both actively acting.
Yeah. Yeah, so but the one of the trivia thing was like, hey, it was last scene. We wanted them to feel comfortable with each other, so the only people there were the two actors, Wes Anderson and the cameraman. I'm like, that kind of makes a little bit. I don't know, like there wasn't like another adult there, like to what, like.
What do they call the role now? Intimacy coordinators in current filming?
I guess. I can't remember.
I just don't remember. I can't remember if intimacy coordinators are only there if there are adult scenes, or if intimacy also applies to, like, I thought these scenes were pretty intimate. I feel like there should have been a coordinator to say, like, you know, be able to counsel and say, are you comfortable? Do you understand that this isn't like, blah, blah, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially if they are 12, they don't. Like, at 12, I didn't know what any of that was, personally.
I think at 12, I was rolling Hot Wheels down a slide and being like, I was Lightning McQueening before Cars came out.
Yeah, like I said, like, I think I might have had, like, the beginnings of understanding what it is to have a crush. Like, I was beginning to understand attraction at 12, but I don't think I physically, like, explored it until, like, high school.
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know. And overall, like, there's other things I didn't enjoy about this film. Like, I felt like we definitely hit, rightfully so, because we have, like, just about 7 minutes left. I didn't enjoy the visuals in this movie. Like, I understand why he did it, to give it that more grainy feel, because it's like, it's from the 1960s, like, we pulled it out, all that stuff, and I'm like, it just doesn't look good to me. And it's like, I don't know, for me, I'm just like, the visuals and all that stuff, like, I don't know, it just didn't hit with me, and all that. The thing I wanted to mention about the narrator, like, I didn't enjoy it because it's just, like, I thought it was, I don't know, like, I do think that was one of the better parts of the movie, like, the narrator, but it's just, in my mind, like, is there a way to share that information without having somebody just tell me? And there's a movie that I know is on our list. I've seen it before. It is for the December months, that has a narrator in it.
December. Okay.
Is it? Do we write them down there? No, but it is a Christmas movie. The Christmas movie there, and it has a narrator in that movie. And I like that narrator not just because of nostalgia, but I think the narrator plays off with another character, and is part of, like, they're part of the story. They interact with the world a little bit, but it's not like, as the narrator, as you were saying, where they're just like, I have information, you got to do this. But it's like the narrator is because it is also based off of a book. I'm just gonna say, because it's like, it's months away from now. Muppets Christmas Carol.
I was gonna guess The Christmas Carol.
Yes, Muppets Christmas Carol has a narrator, but the narrator, the Muppet, is Charles Dickens. Like, it's
himself.
He's like,
okay.
It's not. They don't make it look like Charles Dickens. It's another Muppet, Gonzo, and he's like, I'm Charles Dickens, and Gonzo has a friend, Rosa the Rat, and he's like, you're who? And he's like, and he's like, it's for the book, like, it's for the thing, like, settled. Like, they kind of break the fourth wall, make a little bit of humor about it, and he's like, oh. But, like, constantly in that movie, like, as everything's playing out, Gonzo, Charles Dickens, is, like, running between different things and, like, sneaking around to give his narrator lines while the movie's playing. So it's like him in real time, just like arguing with his friend, be like, dude, we got to get up there because we got to go and say what's happening. Like, we got to let people know what's happening next. He's like, oh man, but I left my stuff over on this other side of the fence. And so they, like, chuck him over the fence, and they're like, okay, let's go. And he's like, wait, my jelly beans. And he goes like, he's like, you could fit through the bars the whole time. He's like, yeah, why? And so it's just like this whole, like and then once it gets more serious, he's like, this is too scary for us, so we'll just meet you up later. Okay, bye. And it's just like it's a character that is part of the world, but it's not like directly part of the story, but it is explaining the world. And I think it does a much better way of a character narrator.
Okay.
And this one, it just felt like, for me, they couldn't think of a way to like show where they're at, because they show maps and like all this stuff and everything, and it's just the way Anderson shoots film. It's just like, okay, they had to have someone. It feels like in his films, and I think this is why I'm not a huge Wes Anderson film fan, is where it feels like all his movies that we've watched so far is like, let me hold your hand and take you gently through this story. And I'm like, just throw me in.
Yeah. Like, if the movie is rated PG-13 and you're expecting an adult audience, respect that they can connect some dots on their own. Mm-hmm. Like, Strider and I were, like, making guesses towards the plot because we were like, oh, based on the context. And then later on, they would have to do something to be like, yes, I confirm that this is the suspicion. Like, on a platter. So I get where that's coming from. I did find the beginning to be like I thought about writing this down, but you mentioned that like the way that he shoots movies, like the symmetrying was symmetrying. Like it was like, I get it, he can symmetry. I get it, he can symmetry. And like the first half hour, I was like, I saw someone in a review said like it almost felt like the first 30 minutes were a parody of himself, and it almost did, because like I was like, the symmetry is like excessive at this point.
Yeah, it almost feels a little bit he's not on our list, but Night Shyamalan, where he kind of with his movies kind of got a little lost in his own sauce, because everyone was like, oh, we need the big twist at the end. And that he started, for a little while, I think he's gotten away from that in the past couple years, his past couple movies. But he's like, all my movies need this big twist. And I think the movie, because he was known as the twist guy, like was suffering from that. Mm-hmm. And he got away from that, and now he's like, I think now making movies that do good movies, and so yeah, and it's I don't know if it's just, if like honestly, if he likes it, cool, but it's just like, okay, like I don't know, I was interested in watching Wes Anderson. I still am. Like, I'm still interested in watching this last movie to see if and our time's almost up. We have less than a minute. Okay. But I am interested in watching whatever's next. The Grand Budapest Hotel. That's next week. Because that's one I know I've heard about. And before, I don't know anything about it, but I remember hearing like stuff. But I think Grand Budapest Hotel I've heard is like the most symmetry and like the clearest case for it. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, and we don't have his newer films on there, but I don't know, I can understand why certain people
gravitate towards like the aesthetic. Yeah.
Yes, where it's neat, it's tidy.
It feels like a very controlled, like, I can see it like, so I've heard that there's a study that says people who enjoy things like horror like it because if you have high anxiety, a horror movie is a way for you to have an outlet for your anxiety that's safe, because you have a beginning of like building up of anxiety, and then usually by the end of a horror film, because either like the monster is taken care of or the monster has done everything it's going to, your anxiety comes back down and it feels like, you know, like it has like a place to live in a way that you can exert that emotion without you having to feel like you yourself are like cornered. So apparently horror is a really big genre for people that are highly anxious. I learned that while I was at horror book club, and everyone in the room went but so I wonder if Wes Anderson for some people is kind of like a little bit of a place where you go and everything's, like you said, like tidy and orderly, but in a way that makes the characters not feel real. Like I saw someone point out that they say that there's 4 kids living in a house, but not a single game has been played. They all sit politely listening to the same record in a perfectly symmetrical way. Like everything is like orderly. And then same thing with the scouts. Like all the scouts have a pre-assigned role. Everything they do is in even numbers. It's all like organized and set up in a particular way. Whereas a bunch of young boys, I've met young boys when I was a young girl, and I can tell you a young boy doesn't like to put their toys away. Like usually if it's like, if they're not like told, hey, put your stuff away, you're like stepping over stuff, stepping around stuff, because it's a high energy environment, right? Especially I can only imagine when you have a lot of young boys all together, you have you and your brothers, like you're all feeding off of each other too, I imagine.
Yeah. It's I think a good way to compare this to where I'm not going to say this director is a bad director, but I think compared to the other movies that we have watched so far this year, he is probably a little bit weak. He's weaker, I think, compared to that. And it's the one that I did for my birthday month, Wilson Yip. Okay. And like just compared to everyone else on there, I just wanted to watch it, man. But
no, that's fine. Like the early Ip Men were really good movies, and we didn't have that genre covered at all.
But what I wanted to say, what I was thinking though is, Wes Anderson, his movies, that we were saying, is very neat to the point where nothing feels real. Nothing like, it all feels like a fantasy and not in a fun like mess with your mind or thing. It's just like, here's what it is, this image that I have of what things should be like, and all that.
Yeah, in a very staged kind of way, yeah.
Well, Wilson Yip, specifically with Ip Man, because that's what we watched, even though all 4 movies weren't the best quality, the best story told, all those places felt, at least they had like some life, or felt like
the setting was a character.
Yes. Like even the weakest one, Ip Man 4, like, I don't know. I still think back to some of those scenes, and I'm like, I can remember the emotions evoked, like that they were trying to go for, like when the Americans, the soldiers go to the Chinese New Year festival, and like where he's like, look at my karate, it's better, and I'm like, oh, that turd lord, and then it's
but
just
like the audience, even though they don't get, a lot of them don't get speaking lines, it feels like a Mortal Kombat where they're contributing to the energy of the scene, rather than like Wes Anderson, your background characters, you have to stand here, you have to stand here, so it's perfectly even. There's 3 brothers, so that you have the one brother in the middle and then the 2 on either side, like, you know, like it's all, they're all seated and placed there, and it feels like people are set pieces rather than the set piece being part of the story. Yeah.
And it's like just like doing a little bit of another comparison is like with Ip Man 4, we all know Ip Man's going to go up there and kick that dude's butt. Like, we're waiting for it. And like we see him there and we're like, it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. We're waiting for it to happen. Like, there's no mystery of what's going to happen in this next scene. But like, I'm just like, I can't wait to see him destroy this muscle man's ribs and face. Not as much as he did in World War II, because that would, but it's like we're waiting for it. While it's like, I feel like with Wes Anderson films so far, it feels like nobody feels real. like, I think the only character in all these Wes Anderson movies that I still, like, slightly remember is Pagoda. And he's just like, and it's just like, he's just like, da, 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 and then he just shows humanity for like 2 seconds where he's like, I forgot I'm stuck in an Anderson universe, where he's just like, you son of a, and he just like stabs Royal. And it's just like, and then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll fix that for you. And it's like he broke free of the
tidy
laws
universe.
of the he broke free of the laws of the universe and instantly was reeled back in.
That is a funny comparison.
If they had more of that, it'd be fun, but we're out of time.
Yeah. So. I do have things I want to get done today. Yeah. Unfortunate, because I think this was a really great discussion. I'm sure a Wes Anderson fan will be like, grumble, grumble. But you know what?
I don't care.
Yeah, good for us. I don't know. I was coming at this again with, I don't know why I keep thinking it, but I go, what if Itisdpayne likes this movie? But we talked enough, and the reason we keep talking about movies is that we have, like, different perspectives, but we come to the same conclusion on why, like, a movie afterwards. Because I remember I finished it, and I just sat there, and I went, I don't like this one either. What? Like, I remember after Royal Tenenbaums, we were like, maybe it's just because it's an earlier film. But now we're just like, because I think, Royal Tenenbaums was 2001, maybe?
Yes.
I had it up, I closed it.
Something
around there. And Moonrise Kingdom is like 2012. So there's a gap in the movies. And what I'll also say is, just to end this note, I didn't love the plot point of colonization and stolen land being repeated as a quirky, funny thing, because they say that a major part of the migration he wants to do is an indigenous route, and then he gets to an unnamed area of land and goes, this is our land. I was like, it's your land, you're a little white boy. And then they proceed to go, we need to rename this land and reclaim it for ourselves. It's like, reclaim it, you stole it. But again don't love
and then the sea took it back.
As it should.
Yeah, it's like, no, you couldn't play nice.
But it did make me uncomfortable that they kept referencing the indigenous people that lived there, and then there's no evidence of them being alive anymore. And I was like, this is weird.
So, well, we got one more Anderson film. You know what? I think the only thing that is nice is, compared to the epics of Kurosawa, it is nice to finish a movie in an hour and a half.
Yeah, it is pretty buttoned up. But
I will say, because I just did September's, and I saw, I think one of the movies on there is close to 3 hours, and I'm like, oh my gosh. What? Why?
There is a major holiday around right in the beginning of that season, so hopefully we can.
We'll get it done, but it's all good. But yeah. So anyway, next is the last episode of Wes Anderson. We were going to be watching Grand Budapest Hotel. And you know what? If you guys do enjoy Moonrise Kingdom, let us know in the comments. Like,
tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah, like we're not opposed to hearing other opinions. And like I'm just gonna say, it might be a hard sell for us to agree with you, but it would be nice to hear a different opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, I think the thing for us is we've watched a lot of coming of age movies at this point, and you and I both read a lot of coming of age stories, like either, if not young adult fantasy, like fantasy that follows the youth as they grow up to be adults, so it becomes an adult fantasy. So it's like, there's so many compelling stories out there that are coming of age for people to be like, this was my coming of age movie. I'm like, there's some more interesting ones out there.
Ferngully.
I've actually never seen it, but in any case,
it's not a coming of age story.
Okay, if we keep yapping, I'll never get my errands done. So thanks everyone for listening. Catch you next week, and then after next week's episode, maybe before Spoiler Town in next week's episode, we'll hint at who the next director is. Itisdpayne's kind of started to hint at it this episode, because earlier you were talking about or was that pre-recording when you were talking about researching all of the things about movies to decide what was going to go into next month's list? No, that's September.
That's September.
I scrolled a little too far.
You skipped a month. Yes, but we will announce, and I could give a little teaser if we want, or we're gonna send it right here.
You're the one that says bye, so I'm waiting on your call.
I'm just waiting. I don't want you to go, you know. Anyway, you'll just have to wait for next week for all the information. So until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Toodles.